It is the second. I may have labeled this wrong. Labeled me too, but that's okay. It is the second today. It's Sunday. I was confused because we're putting up the finished thing the day after the actual thing happened, because we were doing a lot of on-location reviews and things. Well, the AdamaCon2 closing night, AdamaCon2. Unless there's probably nothing tomorrow. Everybody can go back to work. Mainly doing on location. This is an on location themed one, so we were exploring all facets of on location, and we were finishing off that. We got up to Valley Stories, all the way up to Valley Stories, the 6th series. Merged a bunch of the other journals from On Location Academy, the spin-off that aired during First Press, put it back into First Press along with Working Class. So those two series, even though there were 7 of them, are now enfolded back into Working Class. We're back into First Press, the series, where they belong, turning it from 6 or 7 series to 5, which is fine. Which you don't need to know about because it doesn't matter. The Cillian version is the one that comes out, not the journal. There are several stories where Mark's Cards pops in and he does. He did like an Alaska cruise, a Mexico cruise, a bunch of other things after the Russia one. So that's cool. Those were in there. Also, there's some Brown holiday special stuff that would make absolutely no sense in a Cillian story. There's other stuff in there. The last visage of. They kept going to the Academy all the way up till 2007, as we mentioned yesterday. We kept doing that. Then 2007, we left. They had moved, and we went over that. There's actually, looking back on this, rendering this yesterday's hour. I did take some stuff out, which wasn't that it was bad. It was that it was goofy. It's strange. That's why the rest of it's in there. We've been over Kitty Key. If you want to see the Kitty Key stories, there are many channels already going over that. So, and those other channels have so far not received any feedback, regardless, either good or bad, regarding that. So it's unlikely that anyone will care at this point. We're not out to knock the school currently. There's no reason to. It's the old past story with old past. Probably they probably have different instructors even now, and some of them are the same. But yeah, we're not out to do anything against that at all. The only thing we did when we were after Kitty Key, after the other stuff, similar to the Cult Slayer Russ website, was the sequel to Cult Member. Was tell them, because we could contact them, but we're not going to say who they are. That they shouldn't do that to be mean. They should just do it to inform and educate, which is to say, reiterating what ex-student Bemused said, just to educate. So you put up stuff that's there that's So this is keep it alive that there was a cult, but don't necessarily decimate them like they did on Bullshito. Just say, okay, this is an event that happened that we covered, or this is a thing that we wrote about a journal that they covered, or a goofy award that they got that they didn't really deserve, that kind of thing. That's fine. Educate. And they say at the end, this is an opinion. It's not a news story. It's an opinion. It's not meant to be a scandal. And then you're fine. There's no scandal anymore. I think this stuff is like 2000. The divorce case thing was 2005, 2006. Nobody cares. It's and a moral point of it, as we went into the First Press, this is leading somewhere. We went into First Press. There was a lot of that. It was before 9/11. That changed everything. 9/11 changed everything. Before 9/11. People kind of cared more about what you said in public, and you couldn't put out there. Well, the internet was new. That was fairly new. People couldn't just and cell phones were new, so you couldn't be filming it. The internet over the past 15 years since then, since 2005, has I go back to 2002. After 9/11, okay, 9/11, 2001, everything changed. The internet exploded into a thing. I think email exploded into a thing just a little before that, but internet exploded. Became a big thing. Everybody had a chat room. Everybody had the internet. Everybody was out there doing something on a blog somewhere. Suddenly, information was instantaneous. It was you could say it was a information explosion, an epiphany, a revelation. A lot of the stuff that was put out there was suddenly available everywhere. You could suddenly get in a whole lot of trouble if you were on a job and you emailed somebody something they shouldn't have emailed. You could get fired for doing stuff like that. Because a couple of those emails were like that. You could also give people a wrong impression with emails. There wasn't an etiquette yet. Internet etiquette. The ground floor of internet etiquette. Early Kal Kat and Marx cards. Putting out internet etiquette before anybody else did. On their various different places. Telling you, you shouldn't put that up on a blog. Put that up there. No, don't do that. Marx Cards doesn't even have a social media. He produces the Kal Kat show. That's over here. Well, I've been doing it all this year because he's been quarantined. But shortly to have the second vaccine, and then he can come. He had the second vaccine last week, so I'm just a week behind him. And once that's done, a couple of after that period, that other period, we can actually meet. Mark's Cards back in the studio producing content, so we have that'll be interesting. We'll see what happens. Probably discussing the Starship Locations version of all this. There is stuff like I said yesterday. I wasn't so worried about the bullies from Pine Hill because they really aren't going to give a shit. They really aren't. But the ex-girlfriends from 2000, they probably will. They will. They'll come out of the woodwork, especially the crazy ones. The ones that really weren't girlfriends but thought they were. They'll come out. They'll be crazy. We don't want that. Also, there'll be clingy friends from that time period that'll come out. That'll be crazy. Which is why some of them names were changed. Silly version. Yeah, there's a couple of guys out there. Not so much Jim Tacon. He wasn't clingy. No, he wouldn't mind. He was on the Kal Kat show, so he didn't mind. Tim that wouldn't mind. Tim and us wouldn't mind. He was on the Kal Kat show. He was in StarCraft. They were in StarCraft. They wouldn't mind. But like this other dude from the church, there was a dude from the church who was weird. Let's call him Vu. Like Vu. Okay, he was clingy, and he might look this up and find that show up randomly. Yeah, so calling him Vu, but that's not really his name. Anyway, so we have and other stuff. Ex-husbands of siblings that are now deceased may find that they're mentioned. They may not like that. I don't think they care anymore, but it's possible. But I don't think anybody, the Academy would care, except maybe some of the older ones. But we will change the Cillian names. So yeah, I think I like that kind of thing. After 2000, after 9/11, everybody got paranoid for about a year. So everybody was paying a lot of attention to everybody doing blogs or phones or anything. Especially those that had Arabic-sounding names. We didn't. It's fine. But it died off, and everybody became desensitized. So now, 19 years later, and it's hard to believe it is 19 years later. Looking back at those old journals, it's like, this was actually 19 years ago. Holy shit. It's insane. 16, 17, 19 years later. And it's like, wow, there's whole generations that went to high school between those stories. They wouldn't even know. They wouldn't even be able to translate it. The kids born in 2000 would not be able to translate in 2021 the Kal Kat journal. they wouldn't understand them. They would be like, what? What's going on? There's no internet jargon here. There's no cell phones. How can they had to communicate using primitive internet? That didn't. Yeah. How did they do that? How did they call each other on a blog? Yeah. It'd be like, well, what is that? Later on, I got up to Valley Stories just before we returned to San Jose State, so 2005. But we don't need to update that. We don't need to update every time I get up to another part of the journal. I guess I could do something small tomorrow when it's funny when I've got up to the other one. I haven't edited all those. I just went up to the pagination. That was it on the last two seasons. Finished first press pagination and then went on to Valley Stories and just did spacing. That's it. I didn't do anything else, just the spacing, where each chapter would take place. They could all be novels, but they're going to end up Cillian stories, so I'll probably shave off a lot of it. Because sure, why not? I want the On Location as Valley Stories to be out, just because it's interesting that I wrote for, my goodness, since 1986 roughly to 2009. That's a whole lot. This is 13 years of On Location journal. Nobody's written a journal for 13 years except maybe the guy that wrote Boyhood. But yeah, it's pretty impressive. Yeah. So, and then the later ones, another 7 on there, off and on. But yeah, the journals could return in some format. Well, the latest one is Mission Locations, so it'll just come back as Mission Locations. But yes, when everything comes back. But it doesn't have the blog appeal because that's like a dying art almost. Reading a blog diary thing is like that big. Would be impossible anyway by this next generation. But certainly making it a modern version of it for a Star Trek space story out of some of it or a lot of it would make it less hard to follow. But also still say, okay, yeah, Kal Kat, Adam Brown is really prolific, and he did this, and yeah, and it wouldn't offend anybody because it would have the names changed. Some of the places and events changed. Yeah, it's like for the same reason you wouldn't have hours of sparring classes happening. And character over here was nice and said hi. You wouldn't have hours of that in there. Or prayer class was nice. Some people might not want to see prayer class, sparring class. It's evident that when I, looking back at those journals, when it went there to get the black belt, coming back to the school to get the black belt, saying I want to come back and I want the black belt. That's what I did. I wanted to do that. So without all the extra mumbo jumbo and stuff, they knew what I meant. I knew what they meant. They didn't want to say it with the table, but yeah, that's what I meant. We got a black belt. 2000. Let's see. I tested in late 2001 and got a black belt in 2002. The second degree black belt was in 2005, and started there was a visit from a bunch of people in 2005 and then 2006. Got to wear the second degree black belt. And there was a San Jose at that point, and there was going to be a testing for second degree black belt. They were all sitting up on a rack, and then they had to close and move. So technically, I did not test for second degree. We were given an honorary second degree, but I have the second degree belt. I walked out. So yeah, but yeah, also to clarify yesterday's little story thing. Even more so. Some of during when Bullshito started, I didn't read all of Bullshit until later. And when I read it, this time I was like, and I mentioned the girlfriends thing already, that I didn't have any of those at Jung Swan, but this will be related. So yeah, early on, I had at least 1 or 2 talks into the journal from one of the master instructor guys there. Tells me that, I won't say who it is, but he tells me, The girls are going to see Grandmaster's energy in you. It's not you, it's Grandmaster. So don't hit off with the girls. This is a really strange thing for the instructor to say shortly after getting a black belt. However, this was typical of them at the time. They were nosy. They would get in other people's business. It just so happened that at the time, I was not dating someone from Chungsawan at all. At the time, there was somebody that I was kind of corresponding with, I wasn't really dating, who had rheumatoid arthritis. I'm not going to name her name, but she was mentioned in there. And no, and she was at the Calling church group. So yeah, yeah. So that's who it was back then. So I could have told him. Actually, I sort of have a sort of friend that's a girl, but not a girlfriend. Yeah, and she's not from the academy, so don't worry about it. Probably should have said that. But anyway, also he was concerned that the younger students might pick up on me, because there was one of the characters that was friendly, like the previous infamous Chica. It was a different person. This was the hello person. Yes, and she was not interested. There was no chemistry. Not like Chica. There's no chemistry, and also her father was enormous, big, enormous guy, and her mother was kind of enormous. And I said, like I'm not gonna mess with that girl, because I'd hate to know what this guy would be like mad, because he was like Timmy, he was a teddy bear, but he might have gotten mad. So no, it wasn't gonna happen. He's a big Tim, huge husky tank guy. It's like I'm not gonna do anything. Big enormous dude would probably throw me. It's like, no, that gotta happen. That's what I told him in the journal. He said, no. He kind of overheard that story, and he's like, yeah, I wouldn't. No, I knew there was nothing going on. The funny thing is, like, I keep encountering people that were in the story that I encountered later. Mark's Cards never believes these stories. He believes there's got to be apocrypha and you're confused or something. But no, I've encountered people from things that have happened later. In the case of that story, her sister is roughly the same age as one of my nieces. They were born around the same time, in the 90s. And so, like, the sister, who looks a lot like her, was at AdamaCon. I think I mentioned that in one of these Kal Kat blogs. So I at AdamaCon twice, 2 years, 2018 and 2019. She was running a booth there. Well, 1 year she was doing a booth of furry action figure things, and the next one it was shirts. She was there, and I thought it was the girl. I thought it was her, but it was her sister. And she's all like, "Oh yeah, you're thinking of my sister." But yeah, I'm the younger one. Yeah, I was a little kid way a long time ago, and now I'm older. Probably I'm your niece's age. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, I have a sister. Yeah. So, true story. There's no idea. Clint Cowpoke got to show up. Not to talk about Texas. But yeah, we've been going over this other stuff. I think it'd be kind of fun if get a few other characters in here. What was the other thing I was going to say? Something more about... Well, I kind of did. Kind of said the church thing. Kind of said the other stuff. Kind of said the girlfriend thing. Want to clarify another thing. The character that inspired the Follettes never actually was dating Kitty. They didn't date. They weren't lovers. The Seawall people thought they were. And there was a bizarre instance trying to get them. I'm assuming other extras got this weird thing. A divorce summons. From a shystery lawyer who happened to also be the Grandmaster's lawyer from Lighthouse, who was like, your wife is getting a divorce from you, and these are divorce papers. You have to appear in court. This appeared in 2014 in our mail. I was like, what the hell is this? COL, you are so stupid. I know it's you. You're stupid. There was a second one that was addressed to my sister. Which did not make any sense. So we have like this. They had to guess his name, but they got it wrong. They got her name wrong, actually. Yeah, there is no Jane Brown. That no, that's not her name. Oh my God. What? See, well, really? I'm trying to creep you guys out. They must have sent every ex-student a fake divorce summons form letter to make them appear in court so they could scam them. Apparently, they had a divorce scam thing, marriage scam thing with that other guy that they were involved with. Not going to name his name, but that's why the bullshit exists. Because AG, that's why AG exists. He was not the direct on Bullshito, he was a cult member on Bullshito. His ex was on cult member. So. And his ex was also a cult slayeress. And the other guy's ex was also his ex. So there was like drama. So there was like this girl. She's going back and forth. I did not marry her or date her. What the hell? I was not being... No. I made fun of that in silly stories because I had Kitty Key. Like, I got one. Kitty Key got one. What? Okay. Yeah. That's a little weird. I gotta say, that's a little weird. It's like, that would have worked. Like, you're getting a divorce. You think that a married couple would discuss things and you wouldn't have court paper that would just appear there. They would know. They would look at this envelope like, what the hell? See, well, seriously? Come on. And I'll more point on it, like, they wanted to control people's relationships. That's what they were called. They wanted to, this COL place, they wanted to control people's relationships, even if they weren't there anymore. Apparently they were going around spying and stalking the students during this whole thing. And that's why, like, and you go back to the journals and you read them and you're like, okay, this other event where I saw Chica at school was mixed up with this other event with Chica at school. So there was this. So when I briefly took tech writing, there was an instance where I was with Chica at school and she freaked out and thought that I was like going to class because she was in the class. No, that was different. I wasn't creepy. That was different. That was a different event. It wasn't creepy at all. Then there was another event where she happened to be taking some other class at school. Won't name the class. Also, that was during the... that was in 2006 or 7, so it was during the early stages of MySpace. Around 2006, 2007, the year before we stopped going. And there was lots of correspondence between Kal Kat, Kitty Key, and Chica, and Ryan Beld. Little bit Claire Hoare, but he kind of backed off after the Jane Piedmont thing appeared. Okay, this is Jane Piedmont. Oh, it was just a friend. It was Kelly, but yeah. No, it was me too. But yeah, he figured that out. But yes, they were completely bonkers at that point. But yeah, so yeah, that was dumb. And I admitted that was dumb on MySpace. This is MySpace back then, and that other stuff was out there was dumb. So there was a lady there that was from the Jung Swan that was there too, meeting her at the class, and there was an instance where she asked me why I was in the class because she thought I was stalking her. I was like, I don't know, why are you in the class? And then there was this odd, uncomfortable moment until the other lady showed up at the BART station, the light rail station. I was like, no, I won't reveal anything about it on Facebook and stuff. And she thought that was like a thing. And she was like, oh, I really don't want you to reveal anything. Don't tell the jokes about people about what's going on Facebook. I was like, oh, MySpace. I keep saying Facebook. I mean MySpace. Facebook was new. There was Facebook too. But yeah, MySpace. I was like, I honestly wasn't going to reveal anything. I was not trying to blackmail her. I wasn't going to reveal anything. I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And I don't know if, in fact, that was actually, yeah. I thought maybe after a while that it wasn't actually her. It was just a girl with part. No, it was her. No, I wasn't confused. It was her. She was there. She was actually spying on me in the class. It was the other way around. It's like that other lady years ago that was in the class, the San Jose State class, who thought who was in love with she had the hots for the professor. It was a professor guy who was a composer. I won't say who that is. He was not interested because he didn't like girls. She didn't get it, but that was another character. But in this one, it was different. It was more like just taking a class for extra credit or something. Yeah, I happened to be there because I was also taking the class for extra credit. I was taking the photo class. It was a photo class because at Evergreen, back in the day, photo class was done with these clunky cameras, and you had to go in the dark room. And I see really badly at night in the dark. I kept destroying the pictures. Terrible. I flunked out of the class. Couldn't go in the dark room. All the pictures. It's too damn dark. But by the 2006 or so, by 2005, 2006, digital photography had improved to the point that no one needed to ever go into a dark room again. And I went up to the photo shoot. I needed some credits. And the professor there, who I gave a sort of a character and altered the name slightly in Silly Track because it was awesome. I merged him with Mr. People. I missed Cheers with Mr. Peoples and called him Cherish. It doesn't make sense. They aren't the same person. But a lot of them are doubled up. So, yeah. So he said, well, yeah, there's a photography class. Nowadays we use these digital cameras. You just take some pictures. So, oh, digital camera. All right, huh? Yeah. So, yeah, so I took some pictures. I didn't do much taking pictures in that class. It was mostly, ironically, he's all like, I don't really want you to do too much taking pictures. I want you to do a report on something. Because, yeah, he's a pretty smart guy. I want you to do a report on something. I want you to do a report on Africa. Somewhere in Africa. You got to do a report on it. I guess a bunch of people are going to do a report on Africa. But I had to choose a country in Africa. And going back to my roots of Pine Hill, thinking back to the Future, which is where we got the Libyan from, even though she was not Libyan at all. She was Libby. It's messed up. But we were like, yeah, so I was like, Libya. I'll do a report on Libya. Actually, it was kind of interesting. It was kind of an interesting report. I did it all old school with a mortarboard. Like I was a high schooler. It was great. Libya. Very interesting. Libya in 2005 was 2006 was a conglomerate that had a deal with the Shell Oil Company, and they had a big thing over there, and they liked the president over there because he was Shell Oil Company. And that's why we weren't at war with the Libyans during the Gulf War with everyone else, because we had this big deal with the oil company. Yeah, and later on it would go in the news for Benghazi, which is when the Civil War started. The Benghazi thing, that was something else. That screwed that, but that was later. I could have done a sequel. Anyway, so that was a Chica Bonita at school story. Yeah, we didn't ever hook up. That never happened. No. The Silly Trek version is fiction. No. That did not. That wasn't me. That was somebody else. That would be a little weird. No. But yeah, there's my other stories rambling on for 40 more minutes. I guess that's well. Anything else in Valley Stories? I mean, I can't name names, so it's kind of tough to like have a random story where I'm all, oh, this X person did this and this X person did that and all that. And yeah, this one guy was weird. It's like, well, I can't tell you that. I can tell you about the weird bum guy because who cares about the bum guy? So what? It's nothing. Yeah, I didn't mention his name. Didn't say who he was. Didn't say when he was. Yeah, there's. And if they were dumb enough to make a video of themselves acting stupid, well, they got caught, didn't they? So. That's the thing, though. You know, the early days of the That's another thing that changed with the early days of internet etiquette. Kind of like, we had our first email correspondences back and forth. You could totally use with the written word. You could say anything, and unfortunately, some of the things you could say you shouldn't have. You should have thought about it first. Yeah, it happened a lot of times. I even had wrote this photo teacher an annoyed letter at one point. I had to apologize to him. Yeah, that was so. Yeah, that kind of thing happened. I don't know what I was annoyed about. I didn't say anything, racial or anything. That would have been bad. That would have gotten me kicked out. No, I was annoyed at something. Oh yeah, he was kind of horny. That's what I was annoyed about. It's none of my business. What was I thinking? Anyway, probably projecting. But yeah, it's kind of funny that it's kind of funny that the least creepy guy is accused of being creepy years ago at a job place. It's also a strange. I don't know if it's irony or if it's a strange happenstance. Probably more happenstance. But after that, the other places that I worked at briefly, they were more mature, and some of them were younger. So yeah, it was just a mess. Yeah, just that never came up at the pie place or the other place, the Halkinian place. Actually, I just gave another name, but it doesn't matter. I once had an internship at a place called HK, let's say, and there were horny ladies working there that apparently were using the computers to look at early Rule 34 on their work time that they brought in, and they were looking at early Rule 34 on the internet. And back then, it was the early 2000s, so late 90s, early 2000s. So it would take a long time for something like that to load. And also, the servers back then were really connected, literally by cables, to the other guys. So these people were messing around. I didn't know anything about it until after the fact, but yeah, you connected the cable. It wasn't Wi-Fi back then. It was literally connected. So whatever they were looking at on the servers, I was supposed to be filing. All I was doing was filing. I worked myself out of a job filing. Could do filing at this one place. It was an internship, and these ladies were giggling and looking at the smut on the computer, on the internet. It wasn't dudes, it wasn't guys. Three middle-aged ladies. Well, it's one of them was middle-aged. The other two were a little my age. They were younger. They were in their early 30s. They're looking at dirty stuff on the internet and leaving the pictures around in their office. There was one of an elephant with an elephant painting over a guy's junk. It was just sitting there on the desk. I saw it. It was just lying there. I didn't show it to anybody. I just looked at it and said, kind of interesting. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't squeal on anybody. It wasn't like COL where it's squeal on. Where I was part-time. COL. But no, so they were looking at these ladies. I'm not gonna name who they are. I don't even remember really who they are. But they were they got busted one day. The boss was a lady. She comes out, Sikh Hindi lady, and she was really, really shocked. She was like, oh, you ladies, what have you done? She was a Sikh lady, so it's just, oh God, oh. She was like flummoxed. It's just, and she's loud screaming at them while I was doing the filing. Well, just ignore that. And then I left because the person that was super person said, okay, this place is weird, so you can't work here anymore. But you worked yourself out of a job, they found out later. That's what the advisor lady said. But it wasn't because of that. I didn't squeal on them or anything. Yeah, no, I heard the boss lady say at the time, I remember it, she said, you guys did this to yourselves. You put it on the server and everyone at the place saw it. So yeah, the server was literally linked like this thing is to these other little drives. So the server was linked up everywhere. The boss was literally reading their email texts. He was like, yeah, which is probably a little unsavory or possibly. No, don't do that. But she was, they would post up these large picture JPEG picture files for the time. They're like big thumbnails. They're like large thumbnails. They would pop up in the middle of the server like. There's the fucking guy with the elephant penis. Okay, he was pretty big, but okay. Oh. Elephant penis story. That's pretty funny. But at the pie place, that never happened. Yeah, there was this. Yeah, there were other characters too that are mentioned in there as. They're. Yeah, that nothing happened with him either. There's a silly Trek version. They see the Rumbly characters with Kal Hazel, but that never actually happened in real life. Rumbly, the people that's based on, that never happened. There was a date, but it never went beyond that. So. There was a date. Yeah. There was probably 2 dates technically, but yeah. Yeah. And it was funny, like this. People would like back in the day. It was like by 2012, 2013. It was quite a long time later. So it was after all the drama class and all that, which wasn't really. Yeah. Yeah, they were not. Yeah, she was 25, 26 or something at that point. Anyway, so yeah, but no, probably. Yeah. But no, nothing happened. But yeah, there's yeah, it's kind of funny that the person that Rumbly is based on it, kind of a conglomerate anyway. So they spiced up the Cillian story by having it be like, something might have happened. Ooh, no, it couldn't have really, because that was during the quarantine. Couldn't have. Couldn't have happened. We weren't trapped in the quarantine with them. No. They didn't even contact me. I don't even know what they're doing. But yeah. So this is a weird closing thingy. Yeah. Yeah, it may not even occur to you what I'm talking about. Okay, there was a girl, and she's mentioned in the cast back when she's in high school, but there was nothing going on at all, basically. And then when she was in her late 20s, she was interested. In her late 20s. So that was okay. So, but nothing happened. We just talked about life and stuff and went to see a silly movie. And that was it. Wow, the incredible dating story. Like, I remember this like long dissertation thing where I was trying to figure out Mark's cards, and Mark's cards trying to figure out me, and we're going on about stuff and trying to figure out dating. But when that was okay, all back and forth. But if I asked him about dating, he did not want to talk about it. But what I was just being nosy. I wasn't asking him why doesn't at the time why doesn't he date. I was asking him. I was just curious and nosy. I just wanted to know. Well, if you have, how did it go? That's what I wanted to know about. Yeah, I was like, well, if you have, how did it go? And I do think seriously that Mark's Cards and I need to both attend when the conventions are back, and they come back to San Jose, attend the convention. That would be awesome. So, whenever they have a Silicon Valley Comic-Con again, and they have Fanime again, he has to be there. We have to both go there, because especially Fanime, because he'll meet a furry. It'll happen. He'll meet several furries, and he'll be in furry bliss. Furries everywhere. Yeah, and I'll be all Marvel characters. Yay! Transformers. Yeah, it'll be awesome. The return of both of us at a convention together would be amazing. Amazing. Da, da, da. Hey, computer's there. But it'll be amazing. A furry convention. Yeah, well, that'll happen. Yeah, so I wanted to know. Only several years later did I figure out he actually did have one once. It didn't go so well, and it was boring. So I've had a few of those. Yeah, boring. Like, yeah, I definitely had a few of them. Or I was like, okay, yeah, we're totally not into this. Damn. Like this one, there's one of the characters mentioned in the journals, where apparently at one point, we were up at the Weller Adobe near Milpitas up there, just in her car. And it could have been a total makeout right there. It could have been making out. But it's like neither of us wanted to make out. We're just like, no. I was the first one to say no, which was funny. I was like, no, I'm not gonna. It's not that romantic. And then we ended up at the mall. This character, this girl. This is 2000. Yeah, she was odd. Let's call her Shred, because that's what she's in the Silly Track version. Shred. Let's call her Shred. And Shred, yeah, we didn't have any chemistry really. We just had a little bit. But I liked this other girl who was in there, and I had called it off. She'd called it off, and also this Shred person also called it off with this one dude who liked this other girl. It was drama, so he ended up marrying the other guy. So, but Shred wasn't there, and she yeah. So there was this talk at the mall, and then later on, back to the other girl, the other one. Then one of them got married to another guy and went away. And so I was not very good with this. Every time I had a potential new suitor, she would inevitably get married to the dude that was next to me. Off they'd go. Okay. Yeah. So. But this girl ended up being a little bit bizarre and strange. Well, you know, Pine Hill guy, so strange isn't that bad. But many years later, there's a return of this Shred character in 2004, and this old dude that was her neighbor is like thinking that they wanted her like sexually or something, and he was wrong. But he was bizarre himself. So I was explaining to him, no, you don't understand, because you wouldn't know about all the correspondence and stuff. There was like those emails should not get out in the journal thing. No, not with the guys and the girls in the cast. Even though they totally explain a lot of stuff going on, they're very personal, so they don't need to be released. Mark's Cards doesn't know that all that stuff is going on. That First Press the series cast was corresponding during the early days of email, back and forth, very intimate things about prayer and stuff like that, and relationships, and trying to figure things out, counsel each other, which they shouldn't have been counseling each other. We really shouldn't have been counseling some people, some guys that I shouldn't have been counseling her either. But that old dude, he was like freaked out. There was something going on. I said, like, I know you don't know, and I'm not going to tell you. To the old dude, said in the journal, but if you knew half of what I know about about the girl, you would know that I would never even think of doing anything bad to her, because I know too much, so that was never going to happen. Or I knew too much. I don't know what's going on now. But many years later, she appeared at a VBS thing, and we kind of ignored her. Which was mean. We shouldn't have done that. So yeah. We ignored her. We shouldn't have really. And she was paranoid, and she thought that we were out to spy on her. What is it with these girls thinking they're spying? It happens too much. It happens too much. And the nice ones that ended up getting married, they were okay. Some of them are still around. Yeah, there was even the one that was the inspiration for the Hertzman character, who was toward the end of the cast story, was hanging out with some other people after she got divorced. The inspiration for the Hertzman character, and she's cool and she's normal, and Very smart computer kind of person. But yes, she was. And many times there were meetings in the during the 2015. Yeah, during the journals and things. They weren't recorded in the journals, but there were instances where she was single again. She was hanging out with this other lady, and her kids and their kids were hanging out. And Thanksgiving table, and she let me sit at the Thanksgiving table. And there was this one dude, McQuire, since it happened a couple times, this table, greeting table thing. This other dude, he wondered what was up. He wondered, well, like, at first he thought, am I the ex-husband? And just happened to be sitting there. I was like, it's like, no. No. She's like, no, he just knows him. He just know of him, yeah. Well, actually, I said, no, I know of you more than I know of him. I haven't seen him forever. Well, okay. Yeah, I knew of him. Or 40-something in that case. I wonder what happened to these guys, because when the pandemic happened, none of them contacted me. None of them. They're the only people that did were the original cast on. Angie was on there once or twice. Let's see that. Well, Tim once or twice, but then disappeared. Jim, not at all. Jim Buffett, not at all. Mark's Cars is the only one that was consistently, like, every Thursday. The whole time. So, Mark's Cars. But everybody else, not so much. But when the Kids Club thing came back, some of the other cast members, ironically, the children of the other cast members were on there, some of them. And they're like, oh, it's Adam from the thing. Yeah, hi. But now they're grown. Well, they're teenagers. But anyway, so yeah, it's weird that, like, I was reading in one of the journals and it's like, yeah, it's been like, anyway, years and years. The generations have gone through the On Location story. So the On Location story needs to be told some way because generations have seen it. Literally generations. So there has to be a version of it out there. What is the Starship locations that the Cillians are talking about? What is the thing that inspired Andover and all that other stuff? I think the main idea here is to make it something like this is a slightly other universe, but it's similar to the Nepetiza planet where that planet was obsessed with ancient aliens and that kind of thing, whereas this planet would be obsessed with On Location, so it's probably Miriam's San Jose State planet, but a different one that's been discovered that's pristine. So it isn't necessarily a prequel. It's one where they're still living the whole saga in their universe, and they're there. They get to watch it. That'd be cool. Something like that. So it's in the current time period, but they're still, yeah. There's your, if you can turn some of that into a Chimera sequel, that'd be better than using David Gerald's script, because it'd be cool to. I don't think we can get permission from David Gerald. We can't get permission from him to do that. Not as a pilot. Come on. He's not going to let us do that. No. And that's, that's the end of the evening. So, that's the end for the evening. So, that's it. 1 hour. We've been watching AdamaCon. I don't think I'll go into what's the rest of Valley Stories, just because you're kind of there when you get to the rest of it. Valley Stories was an On Location spinoff from roughly 2001 to roughly 2009, and then there were a few spinoffs that did not take hold after that. But Bullshito was not officially discovered until around. The official word was that it was discovered around 2010, but it was known further back under different names. That's what happened. So they knew about it as far back as 2005, 2006. They knew about it back then. They talked about the internet, students in the internet in class, to us black belt students, they mentioned that stuff in class. They didn't say where it was. They said it was just stuff on the internet. So I assumed it was MySpace and early Facebook. And it probably was there too, but it wasn't just that. It was this other bullshit thing, which was not discovered until later. That's true. Bullshit was not discovered until later, around 2008 or so. But the other stuff that they talked about, that they said they were trying to control people's lives, so that other stuff was earlier, and they totally said it, and it's in the journals. It's right there. There it is. There's extras on the internet messing around. It's in there. It's in there in Valley Stories. Yes, they had a class. They had a couple of classes about it. So that one then current student, Smile, that other one, Everest, saying, "Oh, we never talk about you," just completely making that up. Making that up. They were talking about you. Anyway, so yeah, but that has no relevance now, whatsoever. That's it.